Well, I came to Alexander Haas because I was really looking for a different challenge. I've been involved in two comprehensive campaigns at selected liberal arts colleges, and in the position that I was then occupying prior to coming to Alexander Haas, I knew that another campaign was looming. And while I loved the opportunity that I had at Rhodes, and while I enjoyed the people that I worked with and valued the institution, I really was looking for something that would be maybe a new challenge, a different approach. And so after a conversation with Doug Alexander, who was the owner and CEO of the firm, we decided that this could be something we'd both be interested in moving forward with. So I came to Atlanta and began working with the firm. What I like most about my work is the opportunity that I have to get to know and to work with and to contribute to a lot of different colleges and universities. I have the opportunity to get to know the people that work there, academic leaders, administrative leaders, development officers, but also volunteers and donors. And the people that I've had the opportunity to meet, to work with, the institutions that I've had the privilege of being able to serve, just have really enriched me. I've found it to be engaging, and even when the challenges are huge, that keeps you alive and moving, and it's easy to stay energized and excited. I think the most challenging part of the job is recognizing that I can recommend, but I can't choose, and I can't implement. And there are times where I would like to not only suggest, here's the way that you go, I would like to select the car and then drive the car. And I think recognizing that difference between being a consultant and actually being somebody that has to choose what to do and then how to implement it, that can be a challenge from time to time. Well, I try to keep up with things by turning to the usual suspects: Case Currents, Chronicle Philanthropy, Chronicle Higher Ed. Certainly those are ways to do it. But I also like to stay current on what's going on in the world of business. So, whether it's Barron's, whether it's Bloomberg, whether it's HBR in terms of management and leadership. The other thing that I try to do is stay connected with people that I know in the field. Because the reality of it is, as a consultant, there are things that we can do for primary knowledge in our engagement with various clients. We certainly learn things. As we do our own research, we learn things. But we aren't actual practitioners. And so I think it's very important in recognizing and doing consulting that we have an opportunity to teach and to guide and to coach, but we're also active learners. And we have to do that in our work with our clients. And if we don't do that, we are either ignorant or short-sighted. I think fundraising in the next 2 years, short term, in some ways is going to be the same. If we have learned one thing over the recent history, it is that the drive toward larger gift commitments and the role that those larger gift commitments play in fundraising totals, whether it's for an individual campaign, whether it's within higher education as a whole, and the amount raised there, the predominance of, the impact of larger commitments has only grown. And so we are still going to have laser-like focus on major and principal gift work. And that means from identifying, engaging in meaningful cultivation, and putting things in front of them to consider that resonate with their values and that they can see will have a real impact for their investment. So I think that's going to be the same. I think we will continue to see transformations in fundraising as it relates to the use of functionally crowdfunding kind of things. The growth of days of giving has been phenomenal, and the impact of those. I can't tell you the number of clients that I've worked with in recent years who have adopted days of giving, who have been able to leverage those to get new donors, to get upgraded donors, to engage younger donors. And I think we're going to see additional developments along those lines. I also think that we're going to see additional revolution as it relates to use of technology in cultivating and engaging our prospects. The nice thing is we have tons of tools available to us now that we didn't have even just a few years ago to really connect with them, to communicate with them, to engage them. And I think we'll see more and creative ways to utilize that. Well, I think one of the biggest influences that I had was my first boss in higher education fundraising. That's Mike Adams. Mike was the president of Center College. He was a relatively new president, hadn't been there more than 8 months when I was hired. And Mike had some basic approaches to fundraising that stick with me to this day. And next to Mike, I would say it's Jim Daughteral, who was the president at Rhodes College, the second place that I went to serve. And Jim has had a profound impact on me. In approaches, I still quote him in any number of instances and draw from him shamelessly. So one of the things that I really enjoy outside of work are movies. And while I can enjoy a blockbuster as much as anybody, I tend to gravitate toward foreign and independent films and documentaries, some of those smaller things. And I just find those to be stimulating, enjoyable. Just recently I had the opportunity to see a documentary produced about 5 years ago called Particle Fever. And it really focused on the whole effort to find the God particle that you may have remembered reading about. And this was a documentary that was filmed over, I guess, probably 10 years. And it dealt with the physicists who were behind this, and in fact, two different camps who, when this experiment came off, one might have found their whole life work to have been disproved by this experiment. And the construction of it, who actually ran it, and it was a profoundly moving work, as geeky and as scientific as it may sound. One of the highlights came near the end when the results of this were produced or delivered, and I won't give it away, but it almost moved me to tears. It was profoundly personal for something that was highly technical but eminently understandable. So things like that, I find those a lot of fun. Well, to identify the project that I liked the most or where I had the most impact, in some ways it might be hard to choose, because you're asking me to choose among my children, and I love them all. And so there were aspects about each that I enjoyed. That having been said, there are things that I really do enjoy. One of the things that I enjoy most is doing an assessment for a college or a university. You have a chance to look under the hood, to see how it works, and to really see if you can find ways to elevate the program. And sometimes you go in and the program really has a lot of challenges to it. And then other times you go in and they're doing a lot of things well. But the fun thing is really looking at it and being able to identify ways that each of those programs can advance within the structure of who they are. If it's just, here's the way to do a good development program, then here's the book and do it. But you'd have to have Harvard's money and Harvard's resources to be able to do that. Not everybody does, or their constituent base. So you've got the challenges of, what does the organization have? What is the constituency like? What can it afford to do? What's it well positioned to do? How can it move? Where can the investments be done? And so in a lot of ways it's like playing chess. And that can be pretty stimulating. And when you come out of that with some recommendations that then, after they're implemented, elevate the work of that organization, that's awfully gratifying. And in one instance, I worked with one client, and the way they went about their leadership annual giving was not, to my way of thinking, the best way to go about it. And so I recommended some changes to them. In the year before they implemented these changes for their unrestricted annual giving, this liberal arts college brought in a little over $100,000 in unrestricted annual gifts from donors of $1,000 or more. They implemented the recommendations that I made, and in the next year, they raised over $1 million in unrestricted annual gifts of $1,000 or more. The last time I talked with them, they were doing over $4 million. And so I feel like we were able to put in place something that had an impact in the life of that college. And yeah, do I feel good about it? I do. But not so much in the sense of, well, look at me and what I did. I feel good about it because the reality of it is I'm in consulting, but that's a business, but I still feel like I'm in higher education. It's what I do, it's what I know, it's what I love. And so when I've had a chance to go in and to help an institution become stronger, that's awfully gratifying.